Hello and welcome to this video lecture series on hydrology. I am A. Alex Livingston Raja, Assistant Professor of Civil Engineering from Hindustan College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, and in this video lecture we are going to learn about hydrologic cycle. The hydrological cycle is also called as a water cycle. It describes the pilgrimage or the movement of water as water molecules make their way from the surface of the earth to the atmosphere and back to the surface of the earth again. And in some case, it can also percolate or seep into the earth and add to the groundwater. So this is a very important process which is responsible for maintaining the water balance on the earth. This gigantic phenomena is powered by the energy from the sun, and it is a continuous exchange of moisture between the oceans, atmosphere and the land. Here we have a pictorial representation of the hydrologic cycle, and these are the 5 main processes that happens in a hydrologic cycle. You have evaporation, which is the conversion of water from its liquid state into vapor state, and then you have condensation, which is the reversal of evaporation where the vapor is cooled down into liquid form. Then you have precipitation, which is nothing but rainfall, and we have transpiration. It is a process by which the excess water from the plants leave into the atmosphere, and then we have percolation or seeping of water into the ground surface. We'll discuss all these 5 processes in detail in the forthcoming slides. So studies have revealed that evaporation, that is the process by which the water changes from a liquid to a gas or vapor, it happens in all the open water surfaces, that is from oceans, lakes, ponds as well as rivers. And it is responsible for providing 90% of the total moisture content in our atmosphere. And the remaining 10% of the moisture content in the atmosphere is released by the plants through a process called as transpiration. We very well know that plants are called as producers. They can prepare their own food by a process called as photosynthesis, where they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Their roots of the plants, they take water from the soil, and with the help of sunlight they can synthesize their own food. And after this process is over, the excess water that is present in the plants will transpire or get back into the atmosphere in vapor form through the leaves. So that process is called as transpiration. In addition to that, there is another process which is called as sublimation, and in this process, snow or ice which is in solid form can directly convert itself into a vapor or gas without going through the intermediate stage of turning into a liquid. A gradual shrinking of the snow banks in cases where the temperature remains below the freezing temperature can cause sublimation also. And together, evaporation, transpiration and sublimation plus volcanic emissions. Wherever there is some kind of volcanic eruptions, there are chances these volcanic emissions can also give out some volcanic steam in which water vapor will be released into the atmosphere. So these are all the natural process by which this moisture content reaches the atmosphere. So this is a more detailed pictorial representation of the water cycle. So first we have the evaporation, where we can see, because of the action of the sun, the water from the surface water sources or the open water sources like ponds, lakes, rivers, seas and oceans, it gets converted into its vapor form. Then what happens is the blowing winds and the air currents, they push this water vapor upwards and they take them higher and higher into the atmosphere. And as we go higher and higher, the temperature drops down, and what happens is this moisture, which is in vapor form, cools down and it converts itself into liquid droplets, and thus clouds are formed. And these clouds can be transported from one place to another place with the help of strong blowing winds. And when conditions are favorable, precipitation happens. The water vapor which is stored in clouds, which has now condensed as water droplets, will come down back to the earth's surface in form of rainfall or snowfall. And that is called as precipitation. And what happens to precipitation when it reaches the earth's surface? There are three things that can happen. A portion of precipitation can get evaporated and it can return back to the atmosphere. Second process is, if the precipitation or rainfall falls on an impervious surface or a rock surface that does not absorb water, it can generate runoff, and water can flow from higher elevation to lower elevation depending upon the slope that is present in that area, and they can go and discharge into a number of streams and thereby into a river, where the river will ultimately drain into the sea. So that is the second step. And third step is, if a portion of precipitation falls on a porous surface, that is soil which is dry and which can absorb moisture. These soil layers, they have a lot of voids or spaces in between the soil grains. So what happens is, a portion of precipitation which falls down on this soil layer, it can percolate or seep deep into the soil layer and it can add to the groundwater. And that process is called as the infiltration. Then we have sublimation, like we have already discussed. A portion of water from the ice caps or the snow banks can be directly converted. That is, the ice can be directly converted into vapor or gas without going through the intermediate state of change of liquid. And then we have transpiration, the process by which the excess water from the plants leave into the atmosphere. So the way in which the water goes back into the atmosphere, it's mostly in form of gaseous state or vapor state, and the way in which the water comes back to the earth's surface is mostly in form of liquid or snow. Oceans are the primary vehicle for driving the surface to atmospheric portion of hydrological cycle. Transpiration is also significant. We saw already that 90% of the moisture content in the atmosphere, it is due to the evaporation, and transpiration is responsible for the remaining 10%. For example, if you have a cultivated cornfield of size 1 acre, it can transpire as much as 4,000 gallons of water every day. That is almost 12,000 liters of water every day will be lost into the atmosphere because of this transpiration process. And after the water enters into the lower atmosphere, the rising air currents carry it upwards and often into the atmosphere, where air is cooler and thereby condensation takes place, and the cloud in which this water vapor is stored, they are converted into water droplets and then they come back down to Earth's surface in form of precipitation. So cloud droplets can grow and produce precipitation, and these are some of forms of the precipitation. So it depends upon the place and the climatic conditions that is prevailing in that area. You may have either rainfall or snowfall, or sleet, freezing rain and hail, which is the primary mechanism of transporting water to the Earth's surface from the atmosphere. When precipitation falls over the land surface, it follows various routes, and these are the three ways we saw what happens to the water that reaches the Earth's surface. A portion of water, it evaporates, returning back to the atmosphere. A portion of water seeps into the ground surface and it reaches the water table, or it is retained in the soil moisture. And a portion of water runs off into the rivers and streams, and ultimately it gets discharged into the seas and oceans. Almost all the water eventually flows into oceans and other bodies of water, where the cycle continues. So this cycle takes place again and again. It repeats itself, thereby maintaining the water balance of the planet. And this water cycle, it takes place, or it involves all the three layers of the biosphere. It happens in land, which is the layer of rocks and soil, which we call it as lithosphere. It happens in hydrosphere, which is the layer of water, you have oceans and seas. And it also takes place in the atmosphere, which is nothing but the layer of air. And at different stages of the cycle, some of the water is lost or intercepted by the humans and other life forms for drinking, washing, irrigation, agricultural activities, and for variety of other uses. Okay, so in between this process, humans, we draw water from both surface water sources as well as from groundwater sources for all these purposes. Okay, we have our own domestic requirements of water, industrial requirements are there, agricultural requirements are there, and for all these purposes we take and use that water. And the wild animals also, they also require water for their survival. So in between these process, a quantity of water or a little portion of water is being used by humans as well as the other life forms. And thank you for listening.